Okay, hi there. It's Michelle from Inhale Yoga Studio coming to you today from my shelter-in-place space at home. I'm going to put together a practice that's going to be pretty low to the ground. We're not going to be doing things like standing warriors or things like that, partly because of my video capability and partly because I want to make this accessible to a larger amount of people. So let's start with this. If you're sheltering at home and you aren't a yoga teacher or you don't attend a lot of classes and haven't bought a lot of props, you probably don't have 2 mats to go crossways. Maybe you don't have a bolster or blocks. So I'm going to show you some everyday things you could use at home in the same way that we would use a bolster, blanket, strap, or props. So to start out, if you have a robe or a belt, the tie that goes with the robe or belt makes a super great strap for whenever we're going to need a strap. You might have to do a few extra things to make that work, but this will work perfectly for the things that we're going to do today. Additionally, if you don't have sturdy blankets at home, like the blankets that you often see in yoga classes and yoga studios, that's not a problem. Grab about 4 or 5 towels off of your shelf, and those will be exactly what you need. And I'll show you how to fold those up for the different things that we're going to do. If you pull them off of your shelf and stack 3 or 4 of them on top of each other, then you'll have a really nice cushion to sit on like I do on the blankets. Also, I think most people probably have quart jars at home. You can use 2 just quart-sized jars. If you have one that's a little bit taller, you can also use this size as well. So this is more like I don't know, several cups. But anyway, I don't know exactly what those are called. Just the big quart jars, that's what I call them. So you can get these 2 different sizes. These will function like your blocks will function. So they'll bring the floor up to you on your hands, or they'll support different props that we need throughout the practice as well. So take a few minutes, organize your props, lay out your mat, grab the things that you have and the supplemental things that you might need, and we'll come back together on the mat to begin today's class. Okay, so now hopefully you have your things, and now that you do have your things, we're going to begin the class today by lying on our backs. So you'll lie on your back on your mat. My mat, I have 2 crossways so that I can show you side views and front views when it's going to be the best view for you. So let's get started. Let's go ahead and lie down on the back. We'll put the feet on the floor, bring the head down onto the support, and we're basically going to be just unsupported here. So as you lie on your back, you can let your hands rest on the belly, and this will allow you to get into contact with the feeling of your breath. So lying on your back, perhaps closing your eyes, slowly just start to connect to the feeling of your breath rising into your hands as you inhale, and the breath settling away from your hands as you exhale. And I'm going to leave a few moments of silence here just so you can start to fall into the ebb and flow of the breath, deepening each inhale just a little bit more without extra effort or force, and lengthening each out breath just a little bit more without extra effort or force. And just feel the hands rise and fall in the belly as you breathe in and out. And for these next 5 or so breaths, just notice the thoughts that are cycling in your mind. Open to the sounds around you. Become aware and make contact with the space that you're occupying. And let it all be as it is. So if there are dogs barking or children screaming, or it's a quiet, peaceful day and the birds are singing, let it all be just as it is. Just become aware of what's happening in your environment, and then let your attention be with these next 5 or so breaths, whatever is going on. And then we're just going to leave one hand in the belly and bring one hand over the heart. And I like to begin my classes with the vibration of Om, just to kind of set the tone for the practice, just to kind of draw a little deeper in energetically. So you can join me, or you can just listen as we begin this practice together with the vibration of Om. So we'll take a long, slow breath in. And just let that vibration resonate for a moment or two. And then we can just let the arms come out to the side, let the palms spin up. And we're going to begin by just pressing into the feet and letting the body bounce back and forth. And what you'll feel is kind of a quick rocking over the sacrum. Most of what's happening is happening down right at the belt line at the sacrum. So we're just lightly pressing the feet to bob the body back and forth. And this just loosens up the sacrum, the low back. And it's a really nice way to start practice, no matter what you've been doing, whether you've been working outside or sitting on the couch or you just got out of bed. So this just gets everything moving around the pelvis and sacrum. And then we can let that come to stillness, and what you might feel is a little bit of a resonance from the sacrum through the spine, almost kind of like a wave of energy. And so you can just resonate in that for a few moments. And then we'll bring the knees in toward the chest and let the hands cup over the knees, and just use the arms to help make circles in one direction with the legs. And the tendency here is that we go really fast. So see if you can just gradually slow those circles down. And this takes a little bit more engagement of the core as well as you make these circles in one direction. And you can feel again that loosening across the sacrum and low back. And then we're going to reverse the circles and go in the opposite direction. And you might find that this is just a little more awkward feeling in the body. So we tend to always start with the side that we like the best or that feels the most natural. And so definitely on the side that feels a little unnatural, slow down just a little bit more so that you can feel into all of those spaces. Great. And then we can bring that to stillness. And we can just lightly bring the hands down to catch the shins and let the knees go open to the side. So this isn't the biggest reclined Baddha Konasana we're going to do, just a little bit to open the inner hips. And then from there we can close the knees up, bring the feet down, and pause for a moment and just feel the sacrum and the pelvis settle. Great, and then we'll rock the knees to one side and then press away from the floor and come up into a seated position. And oftentimes when we come up into a seated position, especially if the hips are really tight, the knees go up. So what you're going to want to do is grab one or two of your towels and stack them on top of each other, or you can even take a towel and just roll it up so you have a pretty decent roll that you can stick underneath of your hips and be able to sit up. Obviously, if you have the yoga blankets at home, you can use those as well. I'm going to try to incorporate the stand-in props as much as possible for those of you who are using stand-ins at home. So once you find yourself in a seated position, we're going to start with some tapping, especially as we're getting into allergy season and we've got sometimes little flu symptoms going on. We want to keep things moving throughout the chest, throughout the sinuses, and just keep that vibration alive. So what we're going to do is make loose fists and just kind of Tarzan on your chest. And so you work across the chest, up toward the collarbone, and just this light percussion so that we can keep things moving through the lungs, so that we can keep things moving in the bronchioles. And then we have to reverse, so right hand will go to the left side. So we'll just come over, and right where the arm and the chest meet, we're just gonna bang from the collarbone down into that space in front of the shoulder on the chest. These are important lung points, especially for a cough and clearing the lungs. So we're going to use that to help kind of stimulate the lung channel. And since we're over here, we're going to keep going down the arm all the way to the thumb and then back up the thumb and back. This is kind of the channel, the energetic channel for the lungs. And so we just kind of open that channel up, stimulate that channel just a little bit. And then we're going to switch and go over to the right side. Again, kind of where the seam is on the shirt, where the arm meets the chest. We're just going to percussion there just a little bit. And then the same thing, we're just going to go down the arm on the thumb side and come back up. And just do that a couple times. And so again, we're just using this to stimulate the lung channel, but also to use this percussion to take anything that's sticky around the lungs or the throat and start to loosen that up so we can move it out. Okay? And then we can pause for a moment. You might feel a little tingly around the areas that you've just percussioned, and take a few deep breaths in and out. Okay, and then from there, I'm going to move my glasses up because we're going to do head and throat. So from there, we're again just going to make a little cupped hand and do one side of the throat and one side of the neck. And we kind of move like from the collarbone up toward the ear on that side of the neck. And then we can go to the other side. And then a little bit through the center. It's a little harder to do on the center because it feels really weird, but just lightly tap there, just to give a little percussion, okay? And then pause, and again, just take a deep breath in and out. And then we're gonna make little light fingertips and go alongside the nose, right under the eyes, right on the bridge of that bone. So this is where the sinuses are. And so we're just gonna tap from the nose out toward the ear along those sinuses, and then to the temples. And you might notice some tender areas in here, and so you can spend a little more time if you do. And then over the eyebrows. And then back down to the sinuses, and then out to the jaws. We tend to hold a lot of tension in the back of the jaw and the back of the teeth. And so we can go right out there and just give a little percussion there to help loosen some of those muscles, loosen some of that tightness. And then just one more time up through the sinuses at the nose and above the eyes. Great. And then again, we can let the hands come down. Deep breath in and deep breath out. And then we tend to also hold and get stuck on the upper back at the upper part of the lungs. And so we're going to do the same thing, just make little cupped hands and start at the base of the skull and go down the back side of the neck toward the upper shoulders. And then we're going to cross the hands over and just kind of pat yourself on the back. So you go along the ridge line of the shoulder, from the outer edge of the shoulder in toward the spine and back out. And you can probably feel, even in percussioning up this high, it sends that resonance down through the lungs as well. And then we'll switch sides and do the other side. So I've been doing percussioning, especially as we are in cold and flu season, as we're in allergy season. I've been doing percussioning a couple times a day just to try to keep things moving out. Okay, and then we'll just take a moment to rest and just feel the resonance of that. Typically when we're kind of activating the energy, it feels a little tingly in the body once we finish and see where things are. Okay, and then just to get a little deeper into the sinuses, we're going to do this pranayama, this breathing practice called Brahmari. And so Brahmari, typically we can stick the fingers in the ears or use the earlobes to cover the ears up, or even just cup the hands over to cover the ears. And we're going to do like a humming vibration. Brahmari is B sounding breath. And so we just hum. We'll take a long, slow breath in, and then we'll just hum the breath out with closed mouth and a relaxed throat, and just let that vibration move through the head, the throat, the lungs. Again, this is a nice way internally to begin to put vibration to clear things out as well. So you can do eyes open or eyes closed, whichever you prefer. You can bring the hands over the ears, or if you don't want to cover the ears, that's fine too. You can just leave the hands down. So what we'll do is prepare to cover the ears, and we're going to do this for 4 rounds of breath. So you don't have to match my breath. Go as long as you need or as short as you need for 4 rounds of breath. So we'll all begin together, just covering the ears in whatever way works for you, and then we're going to take a smooth, deep breath in. And just let the hands relax, feel the resonance. Take a few deep, slow breaths in and out. Okay, and so now let's move the body. So you can go ahead and move the blankets out from underneath your seat, the towels out from underneath of your seat, and we're going to come around into a tabletop position. If your knees are a little bit in need of extra support, you can definitely use your towel to create that extra support for your knees. You want your knees to be basically in line with your hips. And so we come around into this tabletop position. And as you're on your hands and knees and in tabletop, you can see here that my shoulders and wrists are not quite in line with each other. My wrists are just a little bit wider. I'm even going to turn my hands out just a little bit to keep the shoulder joint open. And then this gives a nice opening to the chest. Okay? And then I'm going to turn sideways so that you can see here that as I do that with my arms, I'm also checking in to see what's happening in my lower body. So if this is happening where things are dropping forward in the pelvis, I want to pull a little core control in. Or if this is happening where my pelvis is actually working too hard because my hamstrings are tight, I actually want to tilt the pelvis forward a little bit to find neutral. So we're going to be here in this neutral position as best as we can. And take a few deep breaths in and out just to kind of feel that balance. And you can move a little bit between just to see if you can find where that midpoint balance is. And we want to feel as if the fronts of the hips are narrowing together a little bit to help support if we drop out. And we want to feel as if we're letting the hip points turn toward the thighs if we have that tendency to be overly round like that. So we're just finding that balance between the front and back of the pelvis. And then we'll bring the left knee a little more center, tuck the right toes behind you. Imagine you're pressing the arms forward or trying to slide the hands forward. Your hips will rock back and you get a little stretch into that right foot. We're going to take a couple breaths like that. Again, noticing if you lose that connection to the core, and keep lifting up through the pelvis. Couple deep breaths in and out. Great. And then as you next exhale, we'll bring the right knee down. And then we'll switch directions. Left toe comes back, tucks under. Imagine you're pressing the palms forward. And as you make that happen, the weight shifts back. And again, if you lose that connection to the core, lift up through the core just a little bit. Breathe deeply. Relax shoulders even though the hands are working. And then as you exhale, we're going to come back into tabletop position. And you can widen your knees out and let your hips come back to the heels for child's pose. And the chest will settle down toward the floor. For some people, that's not really accessible, so you can keep the hips over the knees and let your forearms come down and do child's pose more like a dropped tabletop. So whichever version is more appropriate for your body, find that and take a few breaths in and out there. And then again, we're going to inhale, come up into tabletop position. And in tabletop position, we're going to loosen the hips a little bit. So as you inhale, you're going to come forward a little, and then as you exhale, just round the hips back and to the left side. And then as you inhale, come forward again. So as you exhale, you'll go to the right and back. And as you inhale, you'll go to the left and forward. And so just loosening up in the hip joint, finding a little movement there. And the next time you inhale and come forward, you're going to reverse and exhale and go left and back. And then inhale right and forward. Great. And then we'll come back again. You're going to come up into a standing on the knees position. Okay? And here's where you're going to need your blocks or your stand-in blocks. So we're going to come up into a standing on the knees position. Take the left foot out to your side. And if you're a visual learner and you don't know how to coordinate left and right, then you can just follow along on the side that I'm in, but my left and right cues won't match you. So the block is going to come over to your right side, or your container will. And what we're going to do is make sure the right leg is stacked up over the knee. Take an inhale and stretch up through the left arm. As you exhale, you're going to lean away from that leg, bringing your hand down to whatever support you have there. As the hand comes onto the support, make sure the shoulder isn't coming forward. We're going to draw that back, strong and steady there as you lean over. If you need to get deeper, you can turn your support to take you closer to the ground. And we're going to breathe up that left side. And if you like, you can turn your gaze up toward the arm and take a few breaths in and out here. And the next time you inhale, you're going to take the arm up. Imagine somebody grabs you by the hand and they're actually pulling you up, and you use the side muscles to do that. And then we're going to bring that hand down, slide the knee back, and then we'll move that support out of the way so we can make room for the leg to go the other side. So we'll step the right foot out to the other side. We'll move the support over to the left side. And then from here, again, we'll take an inhale. After the leg is stacked, right arm lifts. And then as you exhale, we're going to pull with the left side, coming down to that support, stabilizing through the arm, and let the breath be deep and steady up through that right side. So it's totally fine to look forward. If you want a different kind of stretch for your neck, you can look down at the hand on the support. If you want some strength for your neck, turn and look toward your arm. No matter which version you choose, take deep breath in and out. And then again, the next time you inhale, you're going to take your arm up. Imagine somebody's grabbing hold of you. And then as you exhale, use that to pull yourself up with the side body. And then we'll bring the right hand down, come to stand on both knees again. We're going to pause and take a few moments to breathe there. If you like, you're welcome to sit down on your heels. If that's too much for your knees or your ankles, please just stay standing on your knees. And so we'll take a couple more deep breaths in and out here. Great. And then we're going to come back up. We'll take that support, move it back over to the right side, extend the left leg out. Okay, so as the leg is extended out, we're actually going to strengthen through the side. So the pose starts the same as it did before. Stack the hip over the knee. Take a breath to lift the left arm up. And then as you exhale, use the side body to pull yourself down. So don't just flop into it. Pull yourself down so you're using the muscles for strength. Now from here, we're going to actually take a look down at the support, move it slightly forward so you can see there's a diagonal from the wrist to the shoulder. There's a purpose for this. We're actually going to scoot the hip a little bit more over the knee. That brings us onto the left toe. Then you're going to lift the left toe up off of the ground. So we're using that outer hip and gaining a lot of strength. Core is strong. We're going to take a deep breath in and a deep breath out. One more breath. And then as you exhale, we're going to bring that left foot back down. Reach the left arm up, taking an inhale. And then as you exhale, imagine someone's pulling you up and you use your side body to do that. The arm will come down to relax. Stand on both knees. And we'll move the support to the opposite side. Right leg's going to step out. And as you step the right leg out, I didn't mention this earlier, but take a look at that. If the ankle is going behind the hip, that's too much strain on the front of your hip joint. You want the ankle in line with the seam of your pants or slightly forward so that the hip joint stays nice and stable. Okay, stacking up left hip and left knee, take an inhale to reach right arm up. And then as you exhale, use the side body to pull yourself into the pose. So there's a lot of control there. And we'll take a couple breaths in and out. And then we're going to turn the gaze toward the support, move it slightly away from you, and then scoot your body toward it so that the right leg can come up and hover. And we're going to take a couple breaths in and out here, using that outer hip, those outer glute muscles to keep the leg lifted and strong. And then as you exhale, we're going to set that leg back down. Inhale, take your gaze up, your arm up. Imagine someone's grabbing your hand. And then as you exhale, use your side body to pull up. And then from there, we're going to come down and go back to the child's pose of your choice. You can also just sit on your on your heels, or go child's pose, or go drop tabletop, whichever works best for you. And then from there, we're going to inhale, come back up into that tabletop position. And from that tabletop position, we're going to walk the hands over toward the left side of your mat so that you can swing the right foot forward. As the right foot comes forward, you want your right knee to be over or slightly behind your ankle, and then you're going to grab your supports. And in this case, I'm going to grab both of these. They're a little uneven, but that's okay. So I'm going to straddle my foot and press the back shin down. Actually, I'm going to turn sideways to show you this. So press the back shin toward the floor and keep that action going so that as you next inhale, you can imagine you're pulling the legs apart and there's a strong stretch in the front of the left thigh because you're pressing the back shin down. A little bit squeeze the left glute, and you can use those blocks or supports to be able to lift the hands a little bit, but it's totally fine if you need to stay inward or down lower, depending on your flexibility today. But either way, that back leg is working strong. The front knee is over top of the ankle or maybe even slightly behind. Okay, so imagine you're going to try to slide your right foot forward on the mat. That's not actually going to happen, but that action, if you have it in you today, is going to push you up. And you'll even notice my hips are going to slide back a little bit. And as my hips slide back a little bit, that actually puts a bigger stretch on the front of my thigh, not the hip joint, the thigh itself. That's what we're looking for, getting into that thigh. So if I drop down toward the floor like this and I lose all my energy, it goes straight into the front of the hip socket. We don't want that. I'm going to push both feet, shin down, foot down and forward. That's going to press my hips back a little bit and lengthen that muscle in the front of the thigh. So once you get that, if you want to hang out here, hands can stay on the thighs. If you'd like a little more, take the arms up, but try not to do that big, huge back bendy thing. Work the legs to get the stretch in the thigh and just feel the arms moving up to lift the rib cage away. Take another breath in. As you exhale, we're going to take this right hand down to the side, and as you inhale, see if you can lift the whole left side a little bit more so you can lean to the right. Again, anywhere along the line, please feel free to stop if it's too much for you today. And then we're going to inhale, take both arms back up. And as you exhale, we'll bring the hands down to the prop. We're going to take that right one back to the inside, press the hips back, and then swing that right leg back so that you're back into your tabletop position. From your tabletop position, you might notice a very big difference in sensation from the left side to the right. And then we're going to walk both hands over to the right side of the mat. That just gets us out of the way to swing the left leg forward with a lot more ease. And then from there, we can grab those supports, straddle the leg, and then the back shin is going to press down. We want to use that energy of the back shin pressing down because it kind of puts the brakes on the front of the hip. Okay, and then imagine that the left foot is trying to slide forward on the mat. So as it tries to do that, it pushes you back a little bit as you lift up. Again, that splitting of the legs apart, that feeling like the legs are splitting apart, and keep yourself from going to that so-called easy place of just dropping into the front of the hip joint. This is not what we want. We want to feel it down here in the thigh. So we back off, work the legs strongly. Shin presses down, foot's trying to slide forward. Both of those actions activate the thigh. And then you can add the arms if you like. As you inhale, it's about going straight up, not rotating backwards. So we're going straight up, letting the shoulder joint be open, feeling as much lift through the front body as you can get through the back body. And then if you like to go one step further, as you exhale, left arm's going to come to the side. Make this right side really long. You're lifting up to tilt over. And that up isn't coming from the shoulder, it's coming from down low in the rib cage. So shoulder stays down, rib cage lifts up. And then take an inhale, both arms back up. And as you exhale, we're going to bring the hands down to the support. Come back over to the right side of your mat so you've got some room. And then swing that left leg back again. And you'll be back in that tabletop position. Great. And then from that tabletop position, we're going to walk back so we can once again stand on the knees. And I like to do this pose. It's my kind of knee version of Warrior Two. So we're going to take the right knee on the floor. We're going to step the left foot out. And instead of like in that gate pose we did, we're actually going to turn the inner thigh toward the long edge of the mat, point the toes away. Same thing, we're looking here to make sure the knee isn't far behind the hip. We want it to be in line with the hip. And I'm actually going to walk my foot out so that I've got a diagonal from my knee to the ankle, so that as I deepen this pose like I would in Warrior Two, I can still keep my knee over the ankle. So imagine you're taking a sweater off. Wrists are going to come crossing over each other, palms facing. As you inhale, you lift the shirt up. This brings the shoulder blades onto your back. And then as you exhale, you can reach out through the arms for Warrior Two. If the wrists are going behind the shoulder blades, we want them to be forward at the shoulder blades so the shoulder blades can drop. Now take a breath, and then as you exhale, imagine you're trying to slide your right leg out to the side as you bend into your left leg a little bit. So this is like a Warrior Two pose, only we just don't have the legs straight. The legs are working, the shoulder blades are drawing down, reach out through the fingers. And then use a little bit of that core support, like the hips are coming in toward each other, to draw the whole rib cage front and back upward. Great. And then press through the front foot to straighten the legs somewhat. Relax the arms as you exhale, and then we're going to slide that left foot in, coming back. And then we'll go the other side. So we're going to take the right leg out. Turn the toes toward the short edge of the mat, the inner thigh toward the long edge of the mat. Again, we're going to heel toe that foot just slightly forward so we've got some room to move into the pose. to set the shoulders. We'll take the wrist down like we're going to take the shirt off. Inhale to take it up, the shoulder blades come down. Keep those shoulder blades down, and as you exhale, take the arms out. And then take a big breath in here. And then as you exhale, we're going to bend into that right knee a little bit. Both legs are trying to press outward, and we get this really strong contraction and that powering up of the core. So let the breath be deep and steady. Shoulder blades are hugging down and into the back, so this strong contraction in the middle back, and the arms are reaching out off of that contraction. And then again, the right foot's going to do the work here. So you're going to press into that right foot to straighten the leg a little bit as you inhale. And then as you exhale, we can release the arms. And you can come back to sit on the heels, go to child's pose, come to that forearm tabletop, whichever is a good and appropriate resting position for you at the moment. And take a few breaths. Feel the sensations of the body. Super. Then we're going to grab the strap, and we're going to take the strap to the back of your body. And as you do that, we're going to turn the palms up so that as the strap comes along your belt line, it also is over the palms. Okay? So when you have the strap over the palms like this, it gives us the opportunity to kind of pull the strap into the back and pull out like you're trying to slide out on the strap, but you don't. And as you do both of those actions, you're trying to resist the urge to swing forward, so you keep the core tight. As you do both of those actions, what you'll feel is up here at the shoulder joint, a little bit of a turning outward. That's what we want. It opens the shoulder joint there. So your biceps are activated pretty strongly. The core is pulling back against the pressure of the strap wanting to push you forward. And then we're going to try to slide out, keeping the shoulders open until the arms are almost straight. We don't want to lock out the wrists. And then we're going to take the wrists back and take the strap off the back. This is a really big opener across the chest. So if it's too much, stop anywhere along the line. We want to keep the shoulders from dropping forward, right? So it's still that same action of feeling the shoulders open and rolling out. Fill the chest up with breath. And then as you exhale, we're going to bring the strap back, the arms forward, and then bring the elbows in and relax for a moment. Whew. That one always gets me. It's so much more powerful than you think it's going to be. And we're definitely a culture that likes to turn this shoulder joint forward. So getting that action of pushing out on the strap to roll the shoulder open is a really, really big recovery, or a therapeutic recovery for the shoulder from all that sitting we do at a computer. It really gets the upper back and the back of the arm working to open the chest. So with all that information, we're going to do that one more time just so that you can drop into the feeling of that again. So the palms are up, the strap is coming over the palms, and we're holding on. You can feel just by doing that how the shoulders want to come forward. It's just our natural tendency. So to override that natural tendency, we're going to pretend like we're pulling out on the strap, like we're trying to take the strap further away. And you can see my own shoulders. As soon as I do that, my shoulders move back. That's just from pushing out on the strap. And then notice if your hips slide forward and your lower back arches, and try to keep that core support against the strap. And then perhaps a little further, you can slide out. Don't lock out the elbows. And then from there, if you like, arms come back, maybe the strap comes off, and let the breath be solid and easy. Full breath in and out. And then as you exhale, we'll bring the strap back in, let the elbows bend, we'll come to that restorative and relaxing place, and pause for a moment. So we're going to come back into a seated position. You can come into that seated position either sitting on your heels like this. You can stack up some of your towels or blankets to sit cross-legged. If you actually have blocks and you want to sit in this version but you need just a little extra support, you can stick a block under there. I'm not sure that your mason jars will work unless you have two of the same size. And if you have two of the same size, then you can probably put those under each sitting bone and be fine. Okay, so once you find whatever your sitting position is, the next thing we're going to do is take that strap again. So this is, again, about what's happening at the shoulders, and it's a strong bit of work for the upper back and a big opening across the chest. As I was talking about in the beginning, allergies, we're making space, right? So we're using that vibration to get things moving, and now we're opening the space so we can move things out. So with the strap, you're going to take your hands so that your wrists are wider than your shoulders. And then as soon as you do that, you're going to push out on the strap. And when you push out on the strap, the feeling sense that you should get in your body should come from the back of your arm attaching to your shoulder. Those muscles around that outer edge of the shoulder blade will start to activate. We want that happening. So we press out on the strap. Then take the front of the arm, kind of right where the seam of your shirt is, and slide that backwards. So you're just sliding that back toward the space behind you. So you're pressing out and sliding that shoulder seam backwards. From there, we're going to take an inhale and raise the strap so it's just about chin level. The wrists will be just a little bit higher than the shoulders. And then we're going to pull out on the strap and slide that seam of your shoulder back and down again. And then from there, we're going to lift so the strap's above the forehead. Same thing, pushing out on the strap, taking that seam of the shirt and sinking it down and backward further. This might be as far as you get because this is a lot of strong work. If you have a little bit more, you're pressing out on the strap as you lift it up and overhead. Still pressing out, take that seam, now it moves down and kind of spirals outward, and you feel the arm bone just drop down into the joint a little deeper. Again, very strong contraction, big opening in the chest, lots of strong work in the upper back. Take another breath in and another breath out. One more breath in. And then keeping that press outward on the strap the whole time that you bring the hand down so that you're keeping everything contracted and working. Then when the strap gets to your lap, you can relax and pause. And if you didn't feel the muscles that were working, when you pause, feel the ones that relax. And then you know which ones are working. So we're going to do that a second time now that you kind of know what you're in for. So again, the hands will come out, wrist a little wider than the shoulders. You can go wider than that if you need to for your shoulders. And you might stop at phase 1, 2, or 3 in this in the sequence, and that's fine. So you're pressing out into the strap. As soon as you do that, it makes from our patterns, it makes your shoulder want to come forward. So you press out into the strap and you take the seam and take it back and down. Right? So you're resisting that urge, waking up the back body. Then with that press out on the strap, we're going to lift up so that the wrists are just higher than the shoulders, about chin level, about eye level, something like that, depending on your shoulders. Press out on the strap, slide the seam back and down. And this should feel really good in this pose. It should make things feel like they're in balance. And then again, maybe we go up above the forehead, pressing out, sliding back and down. And finally, perhaps you go above the head, you press out, slide down, and you're even kind of rolling, like you're taking the bottom of the arm and rolling it toward the ceiling. So you press out, you roll, and it takes the shoulders back and down. And we'll take another breath in, letting the lower ribs sink so they're not tilting forward to make up what the shoulders won't give you. Ribs stay solid. And take a breath, and then keep pressing out on the strap as you exhale, come all the way down. And once you get down, relax, pause, take a deep breath in and out. Nice. So from here, we're going to take the right hand over the shoulder and back to the shoulder blade. The elbow will point forward. We're going to take the left hand underneath of that and to the outer edge of the right shoulder blade. So it's like you're giving yourself a hug. And then just drop your chin in towards your chest. And feel the breath fill up the space between the shoulder blades on your back. Lift your chin, unhug yourself, take your arms out wide, thumbs will go to the ceiling, and then reach out as if you're trying to take this whole inner line of the arm longer. So you reach out through the arms. And then as you exhale, we'll take the arms down and relax for a moment. So in that time, we started with the right on top, so we're going to take the left on top this time. So it's going to come over the shoulder and back toward the shoulder blade. The elbow kind of points forward. Right hand slides under and out toward the edge of your left shoulder blade. So it's like you're giving yourself a hug. If you're kind of well endowed, you may have to lift up just a little bit higher to be able to make that happen, right? And then we'll take a breath in, and as you exhale, the chin will come toward the chest, and then just stay here for a few breaths. Feel the opening of the space in the back body. And then as you inhale, we're going to lift the chin and open so that you're in that wide open space again, thumbs to the sky. Feel that whole inner line reaching out. And then as you exhale, let's bring the hands down to the side and pause. Great. And then from here, we're going to come into onto the floor and then move towards Shavasana. And we'll do my favorite twist for the side body. So you'll come into a position where you can lie on the floor. Move my pseudo props out of the way. So you're coming back down onto your back. And I'm going to apologize because I'm set up with the camera right beside my refrigerator, and I just heard my refrigerator turn on. So if you hear this weird humming, it's the refrigerator. So we're going to come down into the back and just come into a resting position here, feet on the floor, knees toward the sky. So we're going to set up kind of like windshield wiper. We're going to take the feet as wide as the mat, maybe even off the mat. And then you're going to drop the knees over to the left side. And what you might find is that the left outer thigh comes pretty close to the ground. The right knee doesn't get very close to the ground. We don't actually want to push it down. That's going to be damaging for the inner knee. Instead, what we want to do is focus on the foot and the butt. So we're going to take the inner big toe and the inner heel. Imagine you're pressing it down into the floor and also sliding it toward the front of your mat. As you do that, it's going to lift your hip off the ground and tone your butt cheek. That's what we want. So press down and pretend like you're sliding forward. That activates your butt, lifts your hip. What you should feel as a result is an opening across the front of the hip joint. You can even take the right knee and reach it toward the front of the room. Okay, so that's the lower portion of this. We're already in kind of a twist. If you want to add a little bit more to this, you're going to take your right arm somewhere like 11 on the clock, draw the shoulder blade underneath of you, and then reach this long line of energy from the knee pressing forward through the front of the thigh, the side of the ribs, armpit, arm, out through the fingertips, especially the index and pinky finger, drawing long. And so there's an active energy here in the leg especially. And then we're going to take another breath in. And as you exhale, we'll release, bringing the hip back down, sliding the arm down. And we'll just come to that neutral spot and pause for a moment. And you might feel a very different sensation through the right side of your body than the left side. So take a moment to just resonate with that. And then we're going to drop both knees over to the right. Super. And then the same thing. The big toe mound, the inner heel are going to press down into the floor and try to slide forward on the mat. As soon as that happens, it's going to lift that left hip up off the ground even more. Your left butt cheek will tone. Right? So we want to keep that action. And it's about 10 to 15% of your effort. So it's not maximum effort. It's easy to sustain. But it's an effort enough that it engages muscles. And then from there, we're already now kind of in a twist. So the left arm's going to come out like a 1 or a 2 on the clock, slide the shoulder under you. And instead of just laying the arm out there and letting it be passive, we're actively using the foot and leg and glute for the lower body. We're going to actively use the arm, imagining that we're reaching through the index finger and the pinky finger to draw that energy up from the ribs through the hand. Use the breath to deepen in and out here. And then the next time you exhale, we'll let the pressure out of the arm and slowly roll the hips back and come onto the back. And we'll just pause here for a moment or two. And then we'll roll over to the side, come up into a seated position. And I'm going to give you two options for our resting pose today. So option one is a little bit more opening through the chest. Option two is a little bit more softening for the back. So feel into your body and feel what it feels like you need today. So for the opening of the chest, you're going to take your supports, turn them sideways, and bring them to the back of your mat. Once those are at the back of your mat, you're going to grab a bolster if you have it. If you don't have a bolster, then what you're going to do is have those supports, and you're going to stack up your blankets over those supports. And so you'll take those towels that you have, you'll put two of them over top, and then you'll take one and let it hang off the side like this so that you have support all the way through. Okay, so variation one is a bolster or towels like that. And then once you get that set up, you bring your back to the support, stretch the legs out on the floor, work the shoulder blades under you a little bit, and then the head will rest on the bolster, the arms out to the side. If that still feels like too much of an opening even after what we've done, then you'll just grab yourself a couple more towels before you go into Shavasana and bring those out to catch you from the elbow to the hand, right? So either variation, arm on the floor or arm supported, so that you can be able to just rest and open easily here. Okay, so that's variation number one. The second variation I said is if you need a little bit more release in your lower back. And so same thing, if you have towels and you're working with towels, you're actually going to open your towels up this wide and then stack halfway through the other another towel and then roll those up with each other. So your stack will be double what mine is. If you have a bolster at home, that's not a problem. Either way, once you pick your towels or your bolster, you're going to slide that underneath of your knees toward the thigh side instead of the calf side. And then lay back again with your legs supported and the arms out to the side. Now, what I find here in resting on the side with the back laying on the floor is that it helps the shoulders relax greatly if there's something underneath of the hand. So you could also bring a towel or a washcloth underneath of the hand, and that takes the strain out of the elbow that puts strain on the shoulder. And so you can try that out one side to the other and just see if it makes any difference for you. And then finding whichever version of this resting position you're going to do and letting yourself settle in. And we're going to hang out here for about 5 minutes. And just like in the beginning of class, let the breath deepen so that you feel the inhalation flowing through the body and expanding the body upward and outward. And as you breathe out, you feel the breath leaving the body, bringing you back to a place deeper inside and quieter inside. And let yourself count the next 5 to 8 breaths, letting your mind stay connected to the lengthening of the breath in and that feeling of expansion and opening, and following the breath out and feeling that feeling of dissolving more inward to a quiet place. At some point along this counting, you'll find your mind soften, your body soften, and there'll be a sensation of just simply being. The breath flows in its natural way, and you let that happen as you just rest and observe. If you fall asleep, it's fine. And so I'm going to be quiet for the next several minutes to just give you time to rest, to integrate, to be in that sweet simplicity of quietness, of stillness. And when it's time, I'll start to call you back. So very slowly, just start to let your attention come back to the sound of my voice, the feeling of your body, and notice your breath. Slowly and gently begin to lengthen the in-breath, the out-breath. Feel how that brings a rising vitality into the body. And allow the body to begin to awaken as you stretch out and wiggle around through your fingers, through your toes. And then to move from your back to your side, you'll slowly just begin to walk the feet in. If you're in the support under the knees, it's pretty simple, just roll off to the side. If you're in the support under the chest, be a little mindful as you roll to the side because the floor is a little further away. Come to rest on the side. Take a couple deep breaths in and out here. And from this place of transition, we can begin to press through the hands and return to a seated posture. As you come back into a seated posture, find a place that is comfortable to sit. Maybe you stack those blankets back up under your hips, or the towels, or if you have a bolster, but a place that feels comfortable to you. And then as you settle in, let your eyes close. Take a few moments to just connect to the breath in and out. Let the space between the ears and the shoulders drop toward the floor. Let the space between the hips and the throat rise away from the floor. Feel and sense into the body and mind the way the practice impacts. Perhaps there is a lingering feeling of ease or well-being. Perhaps you notice some of that extra energy gone, so there's a feeling of calm and centeredness. Perhaps everything is just as active in the mind and energetic in the body as when we started. So just notice what's here, welcome what's here, and just feel the way the practice impacts you today. And there's no right or wrong here, simply feeling into what is. And then let's let the hands come together at the heart like a prayer. And bring in a moment of gratitude. Gratitude for the capability of your body to move, even if it's not exactly how you wish it would be. Gratitude for taking the time out of the busyness of life to show up on your mat for yourself and do something that's good for you. Gratitude for the ability to practice together even when we can't be together. And then we'll seal in our practice together with the vibration of Om. You're welcome to join in or just let mine wash over you. But to do so, we'll take a slow breath in. Thank you for taking the time to practice with me today. I hope that you found a little more freedom in your body, a little more quietness in your mind. If you want to reach out to me about ways to modify or other things you can use at home or anything with this video or beyond, feel free to use the contact information at the end of this video. You can email, call, or text, and I'll get back to you. Please take care of yourself, and I look forward to seeing you again. Namaste.